is Marcio Godet, who is the Head of Global Exploration and Mineral Project Development at Vale. Marcio also trained as a geologist, and in his important role in Vale is responsible for fostering company growth through mineral geographical diversification through the development of greenfields projects. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marcio to the stage.
Good day, everybody. I couldn't be more delighted for being here with this fantastic geological community. It's a pleasure for Vale to be a major sponsor of this wonderful event. And I'd like to take this opportunity to mention something about helicopter safety. As you know, we are talking about a lot about sustainability, and to have a sustainable society, we have to start to worry about people. So it's really important that we take our time to, and as many of you have flown in helicopters, and there's a very nice picture of exploration geologist and a helicopter side by side. It's really important that we all make sure that the necessary steps, necessary measurements for safety are taken before we ride into a helicopter. They're very useful equipment, but we have to think about our safety always. Well, you know, in geology, we say that the present is the key to understand the past. And by that, we mean that by observing what is happening today in our planet, we will be able to understand how the rocks were formed. But what about tomorrow? Neither the trilobites nor the dinosaurs, and we have some animals in our stand if you want to see some relatives from the dinosaurs. Neither one of them were worried about their future. And even so, they have populated the Earth for hundreds of million years, many more years than us humans. But now they are gone. Thinking 10,000 years ahead is really unimaginable in today's society. The financial market, for instance, thinks in a quarterly basis and very short term, geologically speaking. For them, it's no long term. And we are really short-sighted because we have lots of short-term challenges ahead of us. And one of these challenges is how to provide natural resources for a growing population. And the geoscientists will have a crucial role in providing all these natural resources for our society. Well, today's presentation will be basically on 6 points and that I'd like to address. The consumption drivers, the mineral resources themselves, the resource nationalism trend, the rising capital costs, skill shortage, and sustainability. Well, basically, as it's shown in the right-hand side, my right-hand side or left-hand side, the consumption drivers are closely linked to demographic trends. And basically, they are also linked with the maturity of the consuming countries. Okay? These drivers, as Minister the Chinese minister just mentioned, will remain strong in the future. In the middle of the last century, less than 30% of the population used to live in urban areas. Today, it's half and half, okay? And in the future, by 2030, we expect that over 60% of the population will live in urban areas. This urbanization process comes along with an increase in living standards and along with an increase in the amount of energy, copper, steel that we require. Also, humanity's lifestyle will significantly influence the consumption of mineral resources. If the GDP per capita doubles during this urbanization process, the global average consumption will increase by will double for steel and will increase by 50% for nickel, for instance. We believe that our planet can provide the mineral resources that are necessary to supply the world mineral demand for the next decades. Nevertheless, there are some relevant aspects that will have to be addressed to guarantee a reliable supply. The average ore grades for the operations are decreasing with time, as many of you already know. And another important point is that although mineral reserves as a whole are large, we have to remember that they are made up of many separate mines. Each of these deposits is subject to geological constraints and, moreover, to engineering, economic, environmental, and social conditions that undergo continuous change. If we think of technology can and will create new products for society, and because of it, critical and strategic minerals will change with time, and some minerals will be substituted by technological development. If we think of silex, for instance, it was probably the most valuable mineral in the Neolithic times, and now it's really not so important. And to see the challenge of finding a world-class deposit, we know that there are many mines and mineral deposits with different sizes, shapes, and mineralogy. However, we must face the fact that the world-class deposits are really rare to find. Okay. The copper industry is a good example to illustrate this. We have compiled over 2,000 copper occurrences worldwide, and there are 325 producing mines. Out of them, only 43 of them produce more than 100,000 tons of copper per year. And we already mentioned that besides geology, besides the deposit itself, these deposits have to cope with the continuous change in engineering, economic, environmental, and social conditions. That's why for some of them it takes longer to develop than others. So we put Escondida and Grasberg, which are two wonderful deposits, and you can see how many years each one of them to be developed. Well, for some mineral products, the production is concentrated in relatively few operations. For some minerals, the fifth largest operations are responsible for more than 80% of the total production. The geological quality meaning grade and tonnage of the deposit, is a key factor that supports large, low-cost, and expandable operations. These low-cost operations are well-positioned to cope with the social, regulatory conditions, the high construction costs, and the industry cycles. At the same time, disruption in these large operations may cause a strong impact on global supply. We know that several governments around the world have been considering or have been implementing legislation aiming at the greater role or direct participation of the state in the mineral industry. This is a legitimate drive, but one that may have serious consequences in delaying or canceling projects and investments. Resource nationalism is one of the main concerns of the mining companies, as they spend a lot of capital, not only money, but human capital as well, to find and develop a new mineral deposit, to then see the rules of the game change and affecting the development of this deposit. Governments sure have an important role in the process. They should guarantee that the mining sector works under a set of clear and transparent rules and legislative environment, and that these policies are progressively promoting the sustainable development of those countries. The other challenge that the mining industry is facing lately is that we have increasing capital costs, and these big deposits are very good in several aspects, and that includes the construction industry point of view. Well, they generate a lot of direct and indirect jobs, and the construction of a new mine is getting more and more expensive and sometimes prohibitive. Both the high capital costs and the resource nationalism can undermine production and may compromise the supply of goods in the future. In this context of high capital and operating costs, regulatory uncertainties, the geoscientists and the mining industry professionals will have an increasingly important role in creating and unlocking value for shareholders and society. Discovering new mineral deposits and developing existing ones through technology application are the only ways to create value for the mining companies. And the successful mining companies are the ones that understand that the geoscientists are the only ones in the value chain that will create value for them. It's really important to reinforce the role of the geoscientists. Well, there's a big point in there. I'll take an example from Brazil. And in Brazil, for instance, only 35% of the graduated engineers go to work with engineering companies. 65% of them go to other activities rather than the ones they were trained for. Probably similar trends happen with geoscientists. And recent studies concerning workforce in Brazil estimate that to sustain a 4% economic growth, Brazil would need to retain at least 45% of these engineers on their field of expertise. If that doesn't happen, it will sure undermine the efforts for many companies, but it will also undermine the efforts of growth for the entire country. So we should make sure that the skills shortage is addressed properly. The other important factor to guarantee that we will keep mineral supply to the world is technology. Technology is very important in the discovery and delineation of new mineral deposits. Most of the time, the mining industry benefits from existing technology from other disciplines. And our challenge has been to have professionals to assimilate and apply existing concepts to our activities. Exploration and mining need to take the lead in technological development. Block caving, for instance, is not what we would call a new technology, as it has been successfully applied for some time now. Nevertheless, given the scarcity of outcropping porphyry copper deposits that can be economically implemented, the development of new block caves is supposed to constitute a reliable future source of copper. Well, technology will also help in reducing costs, increasing metallurgical recoveries, and among many other potential improvements. During the past years, the mining industry increased its commitment with sustainability. We created several associations to set best practice standards for the industry. We have ICMM, which most of you might be familiar with. And we will require significant natural resources, and we believe that the mining sector will have a key role to sustain and increase the level of productivity in the agriculture, for instance, through the use of more fertilizers. Our planet and humanity have an interdependent relationship, and we must respect two main points. We must have a baseline to guarantee the quality of life for everybody, and our impact should be restricted to the planet's limit of resilience. Finally, I'd like to conclude by saying that there are sufficient mineral resources to maintain the levels of consumption for the next decades. Many of these resources will face significant hurdles in becoming viable operations, but it's a tough job, but someone has to do it. External factors will have an influence on the profitability and efficiency of future operations. These factors include resource nationalism, skill shortage, escalating costs, and social pressure. And we strongly believe that new developments in technology will play an important role in unlocking value from known deposits and providing tools for the discovery of new ones with the help of most of you guys here in this room. Thank you very much.